This is the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
Get red, wild, and blue, America. This show is going to highlight that freedom that we get to experience in America.
The long wait is over. Amazing America with Sarah Palin premieres on Sportsman Channel, the much-anticipated TV show starring the First Lady of the Outdoors and some great guests. Today, we're joined by world-class shooter Julie Golob, who is on the very first episode of the new series. More endorsements from Governor Palin, and this time it's a group of Mama Grizzlies. A brand new Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson is coming up, and just ahead our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. First, our special guest, Julie Golob. She's one of the most accomplished professional shooters in the world, captain of Smith & Wesson's highly successful shooting team, an author, a hunter, and a veteran. And she's a guest on the very first episode of Amazing America with Sarah Palin on Sportsman Channel. Julie Golob, welcome to the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for being here. And first, let's learn a little bit about your background. Can you tell our listeners about all your amazing accomplishments? Not all of them, of course. You do so much, we'd be on here for 10 hours, but a little bit about what you do and your accomplishments.
Sure. I'm a professional competition shooter. I'm the captain of Team Smith & Wesson, and I get to live my dream job of traveling all over the world and competing.
What is it about shooting that draws you to the sport? Why do you love it so much? Because obviously, I mean, you would think usually people who do so well at something really love doing it, and we know you do. So what's the draw there?
I think it first started for me when I was a kid. I grew up shooting with my dad, and we went to the range together. I started picking up brass and volunteering, and eventually became a shooter myself. And the people is really what draws me to the sport. They are so supportive, and shooters are some of the best people in the world. And having that kind of second family, if you will, and then being able to make it a career has really, it's just been an incredible experience.
Now, you got to be a guest on the new Sportsman Channel show, Amazing America with Sarah Palin. How did that come about? And for those who haven't seen the show yet, what can you tell us about your episode?
Well, basically, the producers of the show reached out to me because Sarah wanted to highlight a lot of the different true American kind of people in the grassroots Second Amendment movement. And so they reached out to me, and I put together a little introduction to the action shooting sports for them. And it was a lot of fun. It was very, very cold. I don't think we got above zero. So it was a cold day to be on the range, but it was a lot of fun.
As a gun lover and someone who respects and appreciates our Second Amendment rights, how does someone like you feel about what's going on in Washington today when it comes to politicians trying to strip our rights?
It's so frustrating at the most basic level because without our Second Amendment, we can't have any of their rights. It's so critical, and so it's very frustrating. And I think we all have to do our part if we want to preserve these rights. And so, we just got to do what we got to do and share the sports and share our passion for firearms and shooting and hunting and this great American heritage.
And does the attack on our Second Amendment draw you to great Americans like Governor Palin who never waver on our gun rights?
Definitely. I mean, it's one of the things that really makes me proud is that she's such a strong, influential woman, and she's so steadfast when it comes to preserving the Second Amendment, and I just think the world of that.
What's the key to your success, Julie? Is it practice and repetition, God-given talent? Why are you so good and accurate?
I think it comes down to hard work. I've spent a lot of hours on the range with a lot of rounds going down and hitting that berm. So I think I wouldn't say I'm naturally talented. I just put a lot of time and effort into it.
You wrote a book in 2012, Shoot, Your Guide to Shooting and Competition. It's still popular. What can someone learn from it?
Basically, a shoot is a primer to how to get started in the shooting sports. There are so many shooting sports out there, from accuracy-based sports to shotgun sports where you bust clays to what I do, action shooting, where you run around and shoot through windows and doors and that sort of thing. So it's kind of an introduction to the variety of shooting sports and the basic fundamentals of what you'll need to head out to the range and give it a try.
I guess what is most impressive is how good you are in so many disciplines. You were even recruited by the U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit to shoot for their action shooting team back in 1995. What did that experience do for you?
Oh, it was an eye-opener. Being in the military and serving the military is, it's not something to be taken lightly, but to have the opportunity to shoot for the Army Marksmanship Unit and the action shooting team there was absolutely incredible. And the foundation of skills that I was able to build is what I rely on even today. And,
I mean, you did it. The Army named you the 1999 U.S. Army Female Athlete of the Year. It's been quite a ride, Julie.
It has. It's been a pretty amazing experience. Sometimes I have to pinch myself.
Well, I mean, you talk about going out there with your dad and, having fun with it. Could you have ever imagined as a little girl when you were doing that you'd be, writing books on it and be the person that people are going to, you're the go-to on this?
No. The nice thing about growing up with my dad, we did have like a window look into the world of a professional shooter because we volunteered at so many major competitions. And I was always inspired, especially by the women I looked up to who were competing at that level. And it was always a dream, but I never really thought it was going to happen. And everything just kind of fell into place, and here I am.
Well, I'm sure one of the reasons Amazing America and Governor Palin wanted you on there is because you are a woman and because you're younger and because you're someone that you could be looked up to as a role model. They want to do a little different take on sports and, not just the mundane that we see every day on the sports networks. Do you think about that too? Like, maybe a young girl who has never thought of shooting, of target shooting or picking up a firearm, and they're going to see you and say, hey, wait, I kind of like this. I like how she does this. You know that has happened already, and it's probably going to happen some more for you. Is that something you ever think about? And if so, what's that mean to you?
I like to think so, that, women especially and young girls can look up to me as I looked up to other female shooters of my generation growing up as a kid. But I think what's really neat about the shooting sports is that there are people from all walks of life and different backgrounds, all different ages, races, and they all come together and have fun. It's a sport that anybody can enjoy at any level, and there are grassroots level, club level events that you can participate in all the way up to world championships. And that's not something that can be said for a lot of other organized sports. So if I can do my part and get somebody to head out to the range, then I'm doing good.
Well, much to the chagrin of the gun grabbers and the left in Washington, there's a gun show at the end of the month. I'm taking my 5-year-old daughter and my 3-year-old son to it. I'm sure they'll think that that's just crazy. And we may even have some soda pop and a candy bar on the way, which would really drive them nuts. But, I've been to these gun shows before. My kids went last year when they were 4 and 2. Safest place in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, people are all united by that common value, and gun safety is important. And being a responsible firearm owner means that you are aware of the basic safety rules and you teach them to your children.
Yeah, and you look at the NRA, they in the magazines, they have comic books for kids. They have the mascot who teaches them. And the number one thing is you see a gun, you're not picking that up. You're telling an adult, you're telling your parent or your teacher. And, I told my daughter, even those pink guns that she really wants, and she knows Bristol got Governor Palin a pink gun for her birthday a few years ago. I said, in due time. I said, you'll get yours before my son because I trust you more, that you wouldn't try to make dad dance or anything along those lines. But that it's great to have kids out there and being able to be taught the right way, and then that way they grow up to be able to be, like you said, a responsible person when it comes to firearms.
Definitely. I have a 6-year-old as well, and, before we even took her to the range for the first time, we made it sure, my husband and I, that she had a basic understanding of firearm safety. And as a parent, only you know when that's the right time. But there's no taboo about firearms in our house. It's not something that I feel we're going to worry about later on.
Yeah, and it all depends where you live too. But you can imagine I've only been in Philadelphia, New York, and Chicago, so it's been an uphill fight with crazy things like liberty and freedom that are frowned upon by some. And you mentioned guns. Everybody look at guns like as if this is this crazy thing. To my kids, it's just like anything else, another sport, and you know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do.
Exactly.
Well, Julie, you are a role model, whether you know it or not, and we really appreciate your time and your effort and everything you've done, and, of course, your service to the country. And for those who have not seen the opening episode of Amazing America with Sarah Palin yet, you got to check it out as they rerun them and also on demand on your local cable systems. And no wonder Governor Palin likes you. I mean, you are a pro-Second Amendment person who has used this to full advantage to help not only yourself and your family, but others out there. How can people learn more about what you're up to and what's going on?
Sure, they can follow me through my website, juliegolob.com, JULIEGOLOB.com.
Yep, and you blog on there, too. I read some. You do a great job there, too. Julie, we really appreciate you being here on the Palin Update. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Again, for more on Julie, go to juliegolob.com. That's Julie, GOLOB.com. Sarah Palin has started to roll out the endorsements for some great Mama Grizzlies running for office this year. As Palin put it, get ready to shake things up. And she's already picking an impressive group of women running for office. We'll start with Joni Ernst out of Iowa. We are particularly pleased with this pick. Really a no-brainer, as Ernst, who is a veteran of the Iraq War and just continues her service as a lieutenant colonel in the Iowa Army National Guard. She's running for U.S. Senate in Iowa, and she has an A rating from the NRA during her time in the Iowa State Senate. And if that's not enough, her campaign ad touting her castrating skills and promising to cut pork has gone viral. A super Palin candidate. Governor Palin has also endorsed our friend Karen Handel. Handel's running for U.S. Senate out of Georgia. Talk about a spine of steel. Handel walked away from her post at Susan G. Komen after the group was found to be in bed with Planned Parenthood. Palin calls Handel a champion for protecting life and a proud voice in support of it, one we could use in the Senate. Also getting Palin's support for a U.S. Senate run is Julianne Ortman, the Republican, is a Minnesota state senator now running for U.S. Senate. She's the first woman to ever head the Senate Tax Committee, where she helped lead the way in balancing a $6 billion deficit without raising taxes. And Palin is backing a congressional hopeful out of Florida, Lizbeth Benaquisto. Palin calls her personal triumph over hardship inspiring. 4 pro-life Mama Grizzlies, all now Palin-powered. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, you can visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page and follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA.
It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson and Kevin Scholla.
Hello, Susan. Welcome back.
Kevin, it's great to be with you on this deadline, the day that we're supposed to sign up for our mandatory health care policy. The problem is the website has gone down twice today.
Imagine that again. Bookending this catastrophe with technical glitches, if you will, once again. Actually, I guess I better run. I didn't sign up yet for my Obamacare package.
Don't worry. You'll be okay. I'm just going to go ahead and give you a reprieve for this year. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
In Oklahoma, Kathleen Sebelius was on, and the headline of the article was Chatty Cathy, because the newscaster was asking some tough questions and really indicating that, the public overall was not happy and not looking very favorably on Obamacare, and Ms. Sebelius really did not have a lot to say. In fact, she sat there for 6 seconds, in silence, and I would say that I almost feel badly for her, because what is she supposed to do with this disastrous health care law? But it's not funny, and I don't feel badly for her, because our president is literally going around the Constitution, and on his own he's made over 30 changes to the law.
Well, sure, and you remember how glib she was when, a sick child in Pennsylvania, I believe, was, looking for coverage, and, she gave some snotty answer as far as, well, people are going to die. The uncaring nature of some of these people that are stockpiled in this cabinet are unbelievable, and now here, when they can't do fundamental things. How do you roll out a monumental, massive plan like this and not having any accessibility to it, let alone the fact, you hear Senator Barrasso out of Wyoming saying he thinks they're cooking the books as far as the enrollment numbers, that they're really not being truthful with the American people of who's actually getting into this mess on purpose.
Ms. Sebelius did make one statement where she said a little over 80% of those who had signed up for health care had paid their premiums, but there is no evidence of that, and the reporters and those who are asking questions about this are having trouble getting to the bottom of the answers. The problem with this is the underlying principles of the law and what the consequence could be if, let's say, you were joking about not signing up, but what if they do arbitrarily decide that some will be held accountable, maybe that they don't like, maybe that could be a part of a group that they deem dangerous. This is the problem that we're in now that the leadership from the top is not following the rule of the law.
And what's with these ads and also these television shows that are going out of their way to promote these websites and promote Obamacare? I mean, people are really making mistakes from that standpoint. I know John Legend talked about it the other day, yet he admitted he would never use it. And then Rachel Ray dug herself quite a hole. She was talking about it with the vice president, and you saw the angry folks online who are fans of her as a cook and as a host, and saying, hey, never again now that she's going along with all of this. You see NBA players. I mean, this is their thing. It's the smoke and mirrors again of, oh, look, it's something you need to do, the way they're trying to sell this, especially the young people.
On a lot of the issues, President Obama has been able to get away with having a very shallow response to the issues and the policy that he's pushing. This one, though, is life and death for people, and it's also reaching deeply into their pockets. And I think that the American people are more and more becoming skeptical of a law that is disastrous and having very serious consequences.
Well, as Governor Palin has painted out, the time is coming. The end is near here of the Obama era. And, hey, look, the lamest of lame ducks, especially if you can get the Senate over to not just Republicans but to common sense conservatives. You could have a couple of years here with a repeal of this mess coming up, and some of the other damage that he's done trying to turn that around. It starts at the ballot box and with some of these great candidates that Palin has endorsed.
Exactly, and hopefully it will be those candidates that win that are dedicated to the principles that they're running on, and that they'll actually have the courage to follow through on them once they're in office.
All right, Susan, we appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Susan Stimson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. This week, the National Labor Relations Board in the Chicago region ruled that the football players at Northwestern University, a private university, are considered employees and therefore have a right to form a union. This ruling further complicates the problems associated with big-time college football and basketball. My fellow economist and colleague, Tom Kruckmeyer, and I recently completed an economic paper analyzing the economic value of big-time college football and basketball players if they got paid under a pure free market framework. Based on our data analysis, compiling the football and basketball revenue generated by the schools classified by the NCAA as the Football Bowl subdivision, the average salary for a football player would be $435,000, and the average salary for a basketball player would be $587,000. Wow, that's a big salary. Today, big-time college sports are mostly about the money. Student athletes know this, and so do school administrators, athletic directors, and coaches. There's too much money in big-time college sports. If it were truly amateur, then money wouldn't matter. Our institutions lack credibility when they covet the revenue that student athletes generate, at the same time telling these kids that their education is a priority. Maybe these Northwestern athletes are forcing adults to tell the truth instead of saying one thing and doing another. This is Sarah Steelman for SarahNet Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Commonwealth Common Sense and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download. So just head to saranetradio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Saranet Radio. Visit saranetradio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow along on Twitter at Saranet Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Susan B. Stimson, and at Sarah_Steelman. Palin Patriots is our feature on Saranet.net. There you can check out the writings from our great panel of contributors, including Martha Zoller, Bader Carmouche, and Dan Bongino. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Just go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I'm also doing a weekly hit on the Eddie Burke Show in Alaska every Thursday morning. Saranet.net then takes the segment from the show, puts it up on our site, so you can check that out each and every week. Just go to Saranet.net for America with Kevin Scholla on the Eddie Burke Show in Alaska. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Susan Stimson, and everyone here at Saranet Radio. Thanks to Julie Golob, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.